DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there, including yourself, especially yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy. This masterclass right here that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. If you didn't know that, now you know it. Today's topic, welcome to the show. And today's topic is do not underestimate people. You got to be careful underestimating people. Careful thinking that you sized somebody up and then finding out when it's too late, often when it costs you something, that you have made a mistake in judgment. You must be very careful in judging other individuals, especially when you underjudge them, so to speak. Okay? And the reason why I'm talking about this, and the reason why I'm saying underestimating people rather than overestimating, I could do an episode on that too. Maybe I will. I'm gonna write that down right now. I'm gonna write down, and if you're watching this on video, you may see this. I'm gonna do an episode on overestimating people. I'm writing that down right now. Nico, leave all this in. All right, I was watching a video of, you all know that in late May, going into early June 2020, there was some unrest, not some, but a lot of unrest that was taking place because of the death of a man by the name of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota, that through what looked like it was at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer. And then there were some protests, and then there was a lot of stuff going on social media, and there was stuff happening in the actual streets. And I saw some video, I do not know where this actually happened. It was somewhere in the United States. There were these kids riding on some car through the streets in some area where there was like a shopping center, village happening. But there were a lot of people standing outside kind of watching it go on. There were white people standing out there, black people out there, and there was these younger kids. They looked like they were teens, maybe early 20s at the oldest. And they were riding on this car, and there was about 10 of them in one car. So it was, of course, one person driving. There were people in every seat, but then people were hanging out of the windows of the car, and there was like 4 or 5 kids sitting on the trunk and on the roof of the car. So there was about 10 people packed into this one car that was about the size of a Volkswagen. These 10 people, and they were all young kids, about 18, 19 years old probably, all around that same age. A couple females in there and a lot of males. So anyway, while they're riding by, they're beeping their horn to draw attention to themselves. The kids who are on the back of the car, they all have their phones out, and it looks like they're taking pictures of themselves or doing selfie stories and all this. And as they're riding by, one of these white guys who stand on the corner watching them, I don't know why these white guys are standing out there, but they were a little bit older. They probably looked like they were in their 20s or 30s. They're standing there watching this go on, and one of them just yells out, "Fuck you," to these kids who are riding by. Now, these kids are young. They are probably somewhat agitated already. They are obviously looking to draw attention to themselves. None of them had shirts on. They didn't look like they were looking for trouble. They were looking for attention. But when this guy yells out, "Fuck you," and this guy happens to be white, and whatever reason he said it, these kids were set off by that. So the driver of the car stops the car, and these kids all jump off the back of the car. Mind you, they're not even in the car. They're on the back of the car. So they jump off the back of the car, and they immediately walk over to these white guys. There's about 4 of these white guys standing there, and they're, again, a little bit older, and they all seem to be a little bit, they had a little bit of arrogance to them, these white guys who were standing there. I think that they thought that these kids were not really a threat to them, that maybe they'd get off and talk some shit, and then the white guys figured they'd talk some shit back, and then it'd all be over, and then it'd be done. Well, that's not exactly what happened. So this white guy, it was this one particular white guy, he's on a bicycle, and he has on thong sandals, and I'm gonna explain why that matters in a moment. He's on a bicycle, but the bicycle's not moving. He's just sitting on the corner, watching what's going on. Now he's kind of antagonizing these young black guys to come over to him. He's like beckoning them with his hands, like, "Yeah, come on. What are you all gonna do?" He wasn't saying a lot, but with his hands, he's beckoning them to come over to him, like he is not afraid of anything that they could possibly do to him. And what he finds out in very short order is one of these kids is super aggressive. And this kid walks up to the white guy, so close to him that the white guy had to put his hand up, like, "Yo, kind of back up." Like, this guy was invading, this black kid comes and invades this white man's personal space. He did, and this is all on camera. And this black kid was very, very aggressive. He was looking for a problem, obviously. When he's heard the "fuck you," he was like, "All right, I'm looking to fight somebody." He hopped out that car so quick, no shirt on, gets right in this white man's face. I mean, he's within 6 inches of this man's face to face. And he's bigger than this dude, this white guy with his tattoos. And he still has this kind of smirk on him, and he kind of pushes the black kid back. And the black kid pushes him with both hands really aggressively. This was not the kind of push like, all right, back away from me, F you. This is the kind of push that's like, all right, the next thing that's coming after this push is a punch. Like, that's the kind of energy that this black kid had. Pushed this white dude really hard. The white dude damn near lost his balance off the bicycle. Now he has to step off of his bike because this black kid he wants a problem. It's very clear. Now the white guy, he steps off his bicycle. Now his bicycle falls down. This black kid is still very aggressive. He isn't satisfied with what's happened to this point. He wants to get more out of this white dude. And this is what's crazy. The white guy obviously knows that he doesn't want to fight. Meaning the white guy himself. He knows that the white person, does not want to fight because he never put his hands up with any fists. He never goes back and does anything physically aggressive to the black guy. But even after he got pushed off his bike and he's standing up facing this black kid who obviously is looking for blood, he continues to beckon the kid. He beckons the kid like, yeah, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? I guess he thought that maybe this kid didn't have the physical power to knock him out or to do anything to him or to hurt him. So the white guy is just continuing to egg him on in this very arrogant fashion. And the black kid throws one punch and knocks this white guy the fuck out. I mean, he put this guy to sleep. And if you follow me on Twitter, you may have remembered me posting this. I believe it was early June. It was around the first week of June, right after that weekend, because the weekend when this whole thing happened was the last weekend in May, because the killing of George Floyd, that's why this whole thing was happening. When George Floyd died in Minneapolis, then the protests and a lot of vandalism and stuff happened that weekend, which was the last weekend in May, and then that Monday was the 1st of June. The 1st of June was on a Monday. And I remember posting this on Twitter. I didn't post it actually. I retweeted it with a comment and I said, well, look, I don't condone the violence. The black kid didn't have to beat up this white dude. This white dude obviously was not, I can't even say that the white dude wasn't looking for trouble because one of them yelled something out. And then when those kids came over there, he didn't try to diffuse the situation and apologize. He was egging the dude on like, yeah, what you gonna do? And the kid knocked him the fuck out. I mean, he hit him one time. This is what happened. The black kid keeps approaching this white dude. The white dude's calling him to approach him. The black kid lands one punch on this dude, one punch, and knocked this dude out. This dude was slumped up against a building asleep. His legs were splayed out like the letter X. You ever try to make your legs look like the letter X? All right, that's what it looks like when you get knocked the hell out. He put this dude to sleep. And his friends, this white guy's friends, come to help him up. And the dude couldn't even stand up because he got knocked out so badly in that situation. Now, I'm giving you all of that graphic detail of that situation, not to glorify it, because I do not glorify violence. And these days, anyway, it wasn't that smart of the black dude to do that because, first of all, there's a bunch of people out there with cameras. Everybody got a phone these days. Everybody's filming and photographing everything that you're doing. So if you're going to do something that could possibly be held against you in a court of law, don't do it these days out in the public, especially when there's a lot of people around, because somebody's going to film it. Someone will be able to identify you, and then you may have to face some kind of legal charges for that. So I am not glorifying what this kid did. It was terrible to see this dude get knocked out, even though he was, it's terrible to just see somebody get knocked out like that, because you don't want to see somebody in physical peril the way that this dude was after he got knocked out. But at the same time, I didn't feel that bad for the white guy because he asked for it. He was literally beckoning this kid to come and hit him, and that's exactly what that kid did. I just think this white guy completely underestimated what this black kid could do to him, because that kid knocked his ass out. And today's conversation is not about beating people up in the streets. It's not about protesting. It's not about violence. But it is about not underestimating people and not underestimating situations out of sheer ego. You just think that nothing can happen to you, but then something happens to you, and by the time you realize that you were wrong, it's a little bit too late, all right? Because you have paid the price with, hopefully not with your teeth or with your jaw like this guy did, but maybe not also with your money or with a relationship or with an opportunity. Point number one, today's topic once again is do not underestimate people or situations. Number one, understand that the powerful in life can afford to relent. What I mean by that is when you're a person who has power in a situation and you know you have power in a situation, you can afford, from your position of power, you can afford to offer concessions. You can afford to let other people talk and vent, even if they're angry, even if they say something that maybe going a little bit across the line, you can afford to allow people to do that. You can afford to let people talk themselves up. You can afford to let people draw attention to themselves and make themselves feel important. You can afford to let people show off and try to make themselves the center of attention, at least for a brief period of time. You can afford to let the car in front of you or the car to the left of you merge in front of you on the highway traffic. You can afford to allow other people to take the lead. You can afford to relent when you are in a position of power in life. You can afford to let other people feel like they, quote, won, close quote, a situation and walk around with their chest out. Why is this? Because powerful people know that they're powerful. When you're in a position of power, you know you're in a position of power. And thusly, because of that, you don't need to tell everybody about it everywhere that you go. You don't need to announce in everything that you do and everywhere that you go that you're the powerful party. You're all right with letting somebody else take the lead, somebody else going in front, somebody else making noise, somebody else doing all the barking without the biting, because you know when push comes to shove, you are the most powerful person in the room. So you actually, the most powerful person in the room actually can say the least. The most powerful person in the room can use the least amount of energy. The most powerful person in the room doesn't need to make a display of their power because they already know that they got it. See, when you know you have it, you don't have to announce it to everybody in the room. This is something that any of you look around on social media. I mean, everybody here probably has access to and uses social media on a consistent basis. When you're on social media, look around and look at what people talk about. Look at what people are showing you. Look at the things that people are making sure that you know about them. People who are secure in who they are and what they have don't have to tell you about it every opportunity that they get. Now, I'm not saying that you don't broadcast yourself. I'm not saying that it's wrong to draw attention to certain things that you want people to know about. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm not saying that it's wrong any way that any person chooses to express themselves online, but I want you to just start noticing, what do people brag about? What do people make sure that you know they are, who they are, or what they have, or what they're doing, or where they're going, or who they're with? Powerful people don't have to make a show of those things. They may show you, but they don't have to make a show. You understand the difference between the two? Like not too long ago, we were talking about the art of drawing attention versus trying to draw attention. And it's the exact same, this is the exact parallel situation that I'm talking about here. What people show you, when you have it, when you're secure in it, you don't have to make an announcement about it. Maybe you never even tell people about it. People may not even know it about you, or if they do, it's not because you're putting it in front of their faces all the time. Powerful people know they're powerful. They don't need to try to be the center of attention. They're fine with somebody else having the light for a moment because they know that the light will come back to them soon, or if they want the light, they can take it whenever they feel like it. They're all right with you borrowing it. The point is this: when you're powerful, or you want to be a powerful individual, never be too eager for attention. Act like you know that the attention will eventually find you because you know what you're doing. You know how to draw that attention. You know how to bring it to you when you want to. And you know that you're good enough to let other people get that shine. Let other people try to draw it all to themselves, because in the end, we all know, as the saying goes, the cream is always going to rise. That is masterclass number 1511, the art of drawing attention. Point number 2, today's topic is do not underestimate other people and do not underestimate situations. Point number 2, you don't know who knows who and you don't know who knows what. There was this video that it was viral on social media. This was years ago. This was not a protesting riot type of video. And this was a boxing video. And this is two people actually in a boxing ring. Both of them had boxing gloves on. So people did get hit in this video that I'm about to describe, but they had boxing gloves on. So they knew what they were getting into. I think they both had headgear on as well. So they didn't get hurt the way that white guy that I described earlier got hurt. So in this particular video, there's this young guy. He has on his boxing gear and he's this young muscular guy. Looks like he's probably in his 20s. And he's in the boxing ring ready to spar. And the person who steps in the ring to spar against him is this short, old man. This man probably had to be in his 50s, maybe even in his 60s. He's bald-headed. He just looks old. He doesn't look like he's going to be much of a competition for this young, muscular guy who has all his physical facilities still. And he's looking at this short, bald, old man who's getting in the ring with boxing gloves on, looking like he wants to box. Now, this old man can't bounce. He can't move his feet too well. And he's walking up like he wants to box and spar against this young guy. Now, the young guy responds in a way that maybe you would respond if you had some experience in a boxing ring, or even if you didn't, but you just think you're tough enough to handle some old man who wants to fight. Maybe this guy might have been 3 times this kid's age. And this kid he's smiling, and he's like dancing around the ring as the old man starts to approach with his boxing gloves on. They start the sparring round, and this kid's like throwing a couple playful jabs, like, what's this old man gonna do to me? I think that the kid was thinking, this younger guy's thinking, I just don't want to hurt this old man. I don't want to kill this old man. If I really get serious, I might hurt or kill this old man in this fight. Now, he's laughing at him at first, but here's what happens. Within about 3 seconds of the round starting, the young guy realizes, and everyone who's watching realizes, oh, this old man actually can fight. Because this old man actually knows how to box. Now, he might be old, he might be short, he might not be able to move the way that he used to, but he does know how to box. So he gets closer to the young guy, he walks this young guy down, and he starts throwing punches, and he's actually landing his punches on this young kid. And he starts overwhelming this young kid with punches, and he ends up beating up this young kid who is about 1/3 his age, has this kid curled up in a ball down in the corner of the ring up against the ropes, while his friends who are on the side of the ring are all laughing at the young kid because he was underestimating this old man. This old man whooped his ass in the boxing ring. This whole thing lasts about 30 seconds of him getting his ass whipped. Now, at least both of them got to live to talk about it the next day. There was no bloodshed. They had headgear on. Again, they both stepped into the boxing ring, so they knew what it was. I'm telling you all that. I'm explaining that story to you. Maybe you can find this video. I don't know what you would search to find it, but if you look up old man and young guy boxing on YouTube or Twitter, wherever you look, I'm sure you will find this video. But it's really hilarious because the old man, you wouldn't think the old man could do anything, but then you see it, within 5 seconds, this kid realizes, oh, wait a minute, this dude can actually fight, and I'm about to get my ass whipped, and he did. All of that to tell you this: appearances can be deceiving, folks. As I talked about in yesterday's episode, every job looks easy from the outside looking in. Boxing looks easy if you're looking at this old short man. You're like, what's this old dude gonna do to me? And then you start fighting, and all of a sudden that appearance is not what you thought that appearance was. Do not think that the nicest guy in the room is a person who you can disrespect just because they're nice. Do not think that the old man who walks into the boxing ring is unable to whoop your ass. Do not think that the unassuming, quiet person who's sitting over in the corner is not ambitious and they don't want that crown just as much as everybody else in the room wants that crown just because they're not making noise about it. Understand that every human being is not the same, ladies and gentlemen. We all have different ways of approaching things in life. We have different ways of expressing ourselves. We have different ways of showing our emotions. We have different ways of approaching our ambitions and our goals and our aims. So just because people are not approaching things the way that you would doesn't mean that they're not as serious as you, doesn't mean they're not as committed as you, and it doesn't mean that they don't want that outcome just as badly as you want that outcome, and it doesn't mean they're not capable of doing the things that you can do. Just because somebody doesn't show off what they have or what they're capable of doesn't mean they don't have it, and it doesn't mean that they're not capable. Do not underestimate a person and end up like that white guy on the corner who got knocked out by the black kid on video, or this boxer who thought he was just playing around with this old man and ended up getting his ass whipped in front of all his friends because he thought he wasn't going to hurt the old man. The old man ended up hurting him. Everybody is not the same. You do not know who knows who. You do not know who knows what. All right, don't play yourself and end up looking stupid in the long run. Point number 3. Today's topic is do not underestimate people. Do not underestimate situations. Do not be, and I stepped on this here in point number 2, but do not be such a narcissist, you yourself, that you think everyone expresses their ideas the same way that you express your ideas, as I just talked about. Not everybody who gets angry goes and starts a riot or goes and protests or goes and yells at somebody or runs and picks up their phone and posts something angry or goes and punches a hole in a wall. Different people have different ways of expressing their anger. Some people express their anger through a slow burn. They may take that anger and they may apply it to something productive, and over the course of the next 5 years, they show you their anger through what they accomplish in their lives. Some people approach their anger by expressing it all in the next 5 minutes by doing something destructive that they end up regretting. Some people express their anger through words. Some people express their anger through physical action. Some people express their anger through political action that you don't even notice that they're mad, but they express it in a way that plays out over the next 10 years and you didn't even realize what it was. So everyone does not express themselves the exact same way. Not every person who gets nervous freezes up and gets quiet. Sometimes when people are nervous, they actually talk more. They get louder, they get more excited. Some people, when they get nervous, they say absolutely nothing. You don't even realize they're still in the room. There's this video, not a video, but a documentary on Netflix about a woman by the name of Amanda Knox. Now, many of you probably already know this story because this happened years ago. When I saw the documentary on Netflix, I said, I gotta watch this because I wanna really see what happened here. I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. This woman, Amanda Knox, if you don't know who she was, I don't know the whole story in detail, so pardon me if I flub a few parts, but I'm gonna keep it as basic as I can so I don't mess it up. But Amanda Knox is a white woman from the United States. She was going to school in Italy, like the studying abroad type thing. And she had a roommate in the place where she was staying in Italy. And one night, Amanda and Amanda's boyfriend, who I believe was an Italian guy, she's in Italy, they went out to go wherever they went, to a show, a restaurant, whatever. They went out, and Amanda and her boyfriend left Amanda's roommate home at the flat, at the apartment. So when Amanda comes back, her and her boyfriend come back to the apartment, her roommate is dead in a pool of blood. There was a bloody murder that took place in that apartment. So then, of course, they call the police. The police come, and the police, the Italian police, again, I didn't see the documentary yet, but they obviously take Amanda and the boyfriend into custody because they are there. So they take them in just as suspects out of maybe a little bit of precaution, and they're questioning them and all of this. And the crux of the whole situation was, and this story eventually reached the United States, of course. This is an American citizen who's been jailed in Italy under the charge of murder. They ended up charging Amanda with murder. They believe she's the one who committed the murder. Here's why. Because when they started questioning her and asking her about her whereabouts and what she was doing and trying to figure out if she was the one who actually did the murder, even though she says she wasn't, Amanda didn't seem very flustered by the situation. She didn't seem, she wasn't crying. She wasn't hysterical. She wasn't showing the signs that many people would assume a person would show when their damn roommate, they come home and their roommate's dead in a pool of blood, a bloody murder took place in their apartment. They would expect most people to be shocked and like bewildered and like, oh my God, I can't believe that this happened. Amanda didn't respond that way. She was very calm. She was kind of like, she seemed a little bit nervous. She was kind of like, she had this nervous giggle that she was doing, and she didn't seem like hysterical at all about the situation. She was very calm in facing the situation. So a lot of people assumed, including the Italian authorities, assumed that she must be guilty because she didn't show any of the signs that we think she should be showing based on what happened if she was actually innocent. And of course, this had to play out over some time. And she ended up, I just read this the other day because I was looking up the story when I put this in my note here today. She ended up serving 4 years in prison in Italy because they really believed that she was the one who had committed the murder until after 4 years, they finally found a person who did commit the murder, and then she was released. And now she's back in the United States and she does speaking, and she is an advocate for criminal rights and criminal justice and things like this. So, well, not criminal justice, but legal justice and legal rights for people and things like that. And again, I haven't seen the documentary yet, and I believe she has a book out. Actually, I know she has a book out because I just got it the other day. So I'm gonna learn more about that story, but it's a very interesting story, and it was crazy to me when I saw that. And this is exact perfect illustration of what I'm saying right here. Oftentimes we as people, especially when we get into groups, we look at someone and say, oh, well, if you are really innocent of the thing we're accusing you of, you would be looking like this, or you would be saying this, or you would be responding this way. But since you're not, that must mean that you're guilty. And people really believe these things. And that's not the way that it works in life, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't watch the doc yet, like I said, but there are people out there, you wouldn't believe it. Maybe you would. There are people in Italy who still hate Amanda Knox because she didn't show the proper contrition. There are people in America who heard the name Amanda Knox and said, well, yeah, they found her not guilty, but I still think she's guilty. I still think she did something wrong. She should have shown more contrition, so forget her. And it's like, wait a minute, they found her not guilty. They proved that the killer was actually another person. She was 100% innocent the entire time, but because she didn't show the energy that you would have shown or that you wanted her to show, you have a problem with her. All right, that's a failure in judgment by you. And I'm not saying you personally, or if you're the person who has that problem, that's a failure in judgment. Do not think that everybody else is like you, because they're not. This is the height of narcissism, is the height of, when people talk about arrogance and cockiness, this is really what it is. When you think other people are supposed to be like you and think like you and respond and react like you, and when they don't, you have a problem with them. All right, that is the height of, you want to say, arrogance and cockiness. It has nothing to do with being It has nothing to do with what we talk about when we say confidence, but this is people being so confident in that they believe their way is the only way that they start to think everyone else has to conform to it. All right, that's ridiculous. And when you really think about it, you would see how ridiculous that is. And the people who actually need to know how ridiculous that is, they might not be listening right now. So you got to take this message and let them know. Let's recap today's class, which is do not underestimate people or situations. As I told you already, I explained the story. I saw the video of this kid hopped off the car. This white guy's antagonizing him to come do something, and the kid did something, knocked his ass out. I don't think that white guy knew that was going to happen. I'm 100% sure he didn't know that was going to happen. Point number one, the powerful can afford to relent. When you have power in a situation, you can offer concessions. You can let other people talk, show off, let the car merge in front of you. You let people walk around with their chest out because you know you have the power. You know that whenever you want, you can do what you need to do. You don't need to show off everything you're doing, everything that you have, everybody that you know. When you see people doing that, they're showing you the exact opposite of power. They're showing you what they lack. They're showing you what they're insecure about. That's why they got to keep showing it off. It's a paradoxical thing to think about, but the next time you open up social media, you'll see it for yourself. And tell me I'm wrong. Point number two, you don't know who knows who, and you don't know who knows what. There's this video of these two people boxing. This really old man who was about 60-something years old and this kid who was in his 20s, and the kid was playing around and he didn't think that old man could do anything to him, and the old man beat him up. Why? Because appearances can be deceiving, ladies and gentlemen. Do not think that someone who's very nice is going to accept you disrespecting them over and over again. Don't think an old man can't beat you up, and don't think an unassuming, quiet person doesn't have ambitions. Everybody is not the same, and we don't express things the same way. Point number three, do not be such a narcissist that you think everyone expresses their ideas the way that you do. Case in point, Amanda Knox. She spent 4 years in prison because she didn't show the hysteria that people thought she should show when her roommate got killed. Well, listen, everybody ain't like you. Everybody doesn't think the way that you think. And there are people to this day who still do not like Amanda Knox for what reason? That she didn't show the kind of energy that I would show. All right, if you want to talk about arrogance and cockiness, that's it right there. Do not underestimate or overestimate people or situations, and do not be so narcissistic that you think other people need to express themselves and think and talk the way that you do. What foolishness would that be? Work on your game. Dre all day.